Yeah.
Car does what we have seen. You see a vehicle right there, maybe try and cut them off or protect the airport property here at that Delta warehouse or hangar. It's very concerning when you approach this area again, because even the LAPD helicopter cannot enter that airspace over LAX unless you basically shut down the approach. So there we go. Heading northbound on Sepulveda, we will see if this vehicle exits Sepulveda onto the airport property, getting on the entryways as they pass the pylons, continuing, I'd say thankfully continuing on Sepulveda, passing by the airport entrance.
Yeah, and though we do see a lot of cars there, not as busy as usual, not as congested in that area. And again, we're losing a little bit of visuals here because of the buildings blocking our viewpoint. But can we see it here?
Yeah, traffic again on Sepulveda this time of day on a Sunday. A lot of people getting ready for those red eyes.
There it is.
We're going to see traffic pick up throughout the evening and well into the night. And slowing down here on Sepulveda. What will this person do? Obviously not making completely rational decisions, fleeing police. We did see, Sophie, as you mentioned, the passenger hop into the back seat, and that's a bit of a concern. It's behavior we don't normally see, and it begs the question, why? What could have been back there? Are you trying to hide? Are you trying to access something that may be back there, maybe a weapon? We are told that these people in the car are considered armed and dangerous, and so now continuing on, there should be the in and out there just across that field to the right, if those of you who know these landmarks around LAX, there is the in and out, and now approaching, going to parallel the runway here at LAX as they continue on towards Marina Del Rey to the north. And
we've got 7 patrol cars following behind this driver right now. Again, they are wanted for a dangerous weapon. And yeah, it's concerning to hear that passenger jumped in the backseat. We don't know what they have inside that car. We don't know what they're thinking in this moment, what they plan to do. And though they have slowed down while getting off of the freeway earlier, doesn't seem to be slowing down now, continuing them on a chase here. Again, this started right before 5:45 and has now continued from downtown LA right through LAX.
Yeah, now on Lincoln Boulevard, this is, I guess, technically traveling westbound, but Lincoln turns more to the north as it enters Marina Del Rey. We are going to have to use the extender on this lens because, again, we are restricted from flying across the airport. I believe there are ways across. And now turning, is this going to be a U-turn back the other way? Yes. So now turning around on Lincoln Boulevard, heading back towards the airport, away from Marina Del Rey, and back to the south and to the east. Again, it looks like we have been able to navigate over the airport, and I think we're over this pursuit right now, which is good. Not able to, we weren't interfering with operations at LAX, but a really good view here. It's a little hazy, and the angle the sunlight is hitting this car, it's a little difficult to see into the back of this car, and it looks like pretty tinted windows, but yeah. I mean, was that a balloon? What are we looking at here? Some kind of round yellow object.
Yeah, it does almost look like a balloon, but hard to know because, of course, we have reports that there are 2 people in this vehicle at this moment. Again, the passenger apparently hopped into the back seat, so we don't know kind of what's going through their heads right now, as about 7 patrol cars follow them on this chase. Looks as though they're slowing down here, not getting in the way of, or not endangering any of these people near them, not driving too recklessly, but again, going right through that light, it looks like, and being followed rather by about 7 LAPD patrol cars here.
Right, and the question we have to ask is, what is this person's plan? As you mentioned, they're not driving particularly recklessly at this point. Speeds have gotten pretty high at times, but we're not seeing those desperate moves to get around traffic, to get away from police that really puts other drivers and any potential pedestrians at risk. It's just staying in this lane right now at relatively moderate speeds. We had a pursuit last weekend that we could say it ended exactly how police would want it to end, just pull into an almost abandoned parking lot and following commands. That has not happened at this point. But again, trying to look inside this car, we can just see hands on the wheel right now. And whatever that yellow object was that we saw in the passenger seat, whether that was something somebody was holding, you can still see it moving there, whether that's a person, someone's head or hat, or it's difficult to see, but there is something in the passenger seat. There it is again.
Oh, yeah.
That does look like a balloon, right?
It does. It does look like a balloon.
Or a ball?
Of some sort.
very bizarre. Now
Yeah.
traveling back under the runways, that tunnel on Sepulveda, heading southbound, and we will see this car emerge. Traffic relatively light for a Sunday. Again, as we mentioned, this will pick up, and getting those red eyes, especially on a Sunday, will be traffic will be thick, you could say. Just getting into the airport, these roadways, both directions on Sepulveda at one point later tonight will be bumper to bumper and tough to navigate. Right now, traffic does seem to be moving at a decent speed.
Right, and we mentioned, this driver seems to have been a bit mindful of other drivers on the road so far, but we don't know as they continue to drive to lead these officers on this pursuit if they will get more desperate, will make some very risky decisions here. Now on Imperial Highway in Westchester, again, right near LAX, if you're just joining us right now.
This looks like the on-ramp back onto the 105
Yep.
eastbound. Very curious about what that yellow object is in the passenger seat, and whether there's another person there, where they are seated, if they're in the passenger seat or in the back seat. Again, those tinted windows make it very difficult, and if it makes it difficult for us, Sophie, it makes it difficult for law enforcement.
Right.
They cannot see what's happening inside that vehicle other than through the windshield, and for officers in pursuit and from their airship above, they just don't know what's happening here. And when you talk about weapons, when they enter the equation, it ratchets up the danger a little bit, perhaps the tension for these pursuing officers, just the unknown and the potential danger that might lurk there that they won't see coming.
Right, and now these drivers often cycle through neighborhoods and areas that they're familiar with, and now they are heading back towards the way that they came from. This started, we first got this call at around 5:45 in downtown LA, right off of Hope Street there, getting on the freeway, and it seems as though the driver is heading back towards that direction.
Right, and we were curious whether they were going to maybe try and get lost in the airport in a garage or
Right.
somewhere on the property. That did not happen. So they cycled back from Sepulveda to Lincoln, made a U-turn and came back around, and now they're traveling eastbound on the 105. And they've either, there is the car right there. So there is the vehicle as officers pursue this white Toyota Camry. This has been going on for about a half an hour to our knowledge. That's when we found out about it a little before 5:45 this evening. Traveling through Inglewood, up and down the 110, Exposition Park, the 10 freeway, and now here we are getting some distance away from LAX, eastbound on the 105, going by SoFi Stadium at some point soon on the left as they travel through Inglewood, once again going the opposite direction.
Right, and these officers are not letting up because according to LAPD, these suspects are armed and dangerous. They're suspects wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. That is the first. That was the first thing that we heard from LAPD in terms of why they are on this wild pursuit. And there's about 7 patrol cars following them. It does appear as though they're picking up some speed here now. They're going much faster than they were before. And again, it's because these officers believe that these people could be dangerous and armed inside of this vehicle.
There are times we see officers back up and just go into observation mode if the driver is driving particularly recklessly or dangerously, putting people at risk, and it's mainly because the driver is fleeing from police. So they see themselves as a reason why this driver might be driving dangerously. We have not seen that in this situation. They are continuing their pursuit as they follow this car, these suspects wanted for assault with a deadly weapon.
And we want to bring in our law enforcement expert, Bruce Thomas. Bruce, can you hear us?
I sure can. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, yeah, Bruce, can you talk a little bit about the speed at which this driver is going? I mean, we see this driver going fast at times and slowing down, really being aware of the other cars on the freeway, which we don't always see. I mean, these people are usually in very desperate situations.
Yeah, we've seen the speeds go extreme and then on the low end now. They are running into traffic. I think the football game that was at SoFi may have ended on the 105, so that's part of the congestion. But this is a pursuit that LAPD is going to stay on as you have a felony case, meaning you have 2 assault with a deadly weapon.
Here we go.
suspects.
Bruce, sorry to interrupt. They have just rolled down the passenger side window. It looked as if the passenger maybe took a selfie or a picture out the windshield, now holding that balloon out the window and recording, perhaps even videoing our helicopter or just the pursuing officers behind. But that does look like a balloon, perhaps You know, just guessing there could be nitrous in the balloon. We don't know what they're doing with that in the car. We had a pursuit last week where we saw a nitrous tank in a truck that was involved in a pursuit. We still don't know what that balloon is, but I think it's pretty clear now, Sophie, that is a balloon.
Yes, absolutely.
It looked like in the mouth of the person in the passenger seat who appeared to be having a jolly time of breaking the law, soon to be headed to jail as they were recording with their phone and out the windshield with the window down. It looked like a smile on their face, despite the fact they have now put themselves in a very dangerous situation, and as they continue this pursuit, putting everyone else around them in a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, Bruce, are you still with us here?
Yeah. I was just going to add that, you know, we have assault with deadly weapon suspects. However, they're not displaying that type of attitude. It's more of a cavalier, kind of a, you know, a joyous type pursuit for them.
Right, and this could turn very quickly, Bruce. We've followed pursuits much more benign than this that have really shifted very quickly. You just don't know how these things are going to end or turn, and that's why these officers are taking this so seriously, right?
Yeah, you're taking it seriously because you have a assault with a deadly weapon, a 245 of the Penal Code, which is punishable by state prison, and they're supposedly armed and dangerous. So you're going to take it as a real threat until you know otherwise.
And we haven't seen a ton of traffic on the street today because it is Sunday, but a game just ended at SoFi Stadium, so we could see these roads and freeways continue to get more congested as people leave the stadium, head home. Bruce, you know, of course, we're hoping this comes to a safe end, and if and when it does, you know, what will these two people face here?
Yeah, Cynthia, we do want a safe conclusion. We want to use the minimum amount of force, hopefully compliance to commands from the officers, so they take them into custody without using any force. However, they always have Plan B and Plan C. The suspects are chasing minimum 2 years for the reckless endangerment of the pursuit itself. And then if they are assault with deadly weapon suspects, they're looking at possibly multiple year sentences if that is what the crime really is.
Now traveling eastbound on the 105, unless they just exited. I think we've lost visuals. There we go. Okay, so pick that back up as they approach the 110 once again. This is how this car got to this position. Down the 110 onto the 105, might be headed right back in that direction. Eastbound on the 105, now in Holly Park, Inglewood, West Athens. We'll see the interchange with the 110 coming up and figure out what this car is going to do. We were talking about the football game. The Chargers' loss at SoFi Stadium ended about 2 hours ago, and the Chargers lost, so you imagine there's not a lot of tailgating, post-game tailgating happening. Those fans not very happy, and so hopefully it looks like much of this traffic has cleared out, fewer people around, and that is a good thing. You don't want to see a lot of crowds here, and you don't want to see a driver put in, you know, we see when they hit traffic, they get desperate.
Right.
And they'll drive on the shoulder, they'll get off the road and put pedestrians and other drivers at risk, and that is not the case right now. It looks like driving at speed again, once again, on the 105 with more than a half dozen LAPD units in pursuit. And this continues on now. Now it looks like maybe picking up speed once again.
Yeah, and this started, you know, with a very serious manner. These LAPD officers pursuing this driver for assault with a deadly weapon. So very, very serious here. Someone who is two people inside that car who are armed and dangerous. But as we saw from Air 7, that passenger rolling down the window, holding what appeared to look like a yellow balloon and almost looking like they were taking selfies or recording the patrol cars behind them, even maybe patrolling Air 7. So this is turning out to be very interesting. Again, yeah, you can see that yellow balloon there in the windshield. That person holding that yellow balloon then rolled down their window and sticking their arm out to record what was going on here. And
now we're on the interchange, the HOV interchange onto the 110. This, of course, made famous in La La Land. These are the exit and entry ramps, and this person now splitting traffic in between the lanes. We have people pulling over to the shoulder to get out of the way of law enforcement, and this driver slowly navigating what is now an empty lane, but not for long. We see these two lanes of traffic. We see left-hand lane are pulling over to the side. The right-hand lane drivers are still kind of perhaps oblivious to what is behind them. But now that those officers have this guy at slow speeds in a situation like this, we will see if they make a move. Bruce, when we talk about potential pit maneuvers, what are we looking for in terms of bringing this to a stop? What are the factors these officers will look at? And we have a lot of people around here.
Yeah, I mean, traffic has now become at a standstill, or at least a crawl. To do with a pit maneuver would be kind of difficult. However, you know, in this case, I think I would authorize the pit maneuver and be able to spin them out. They may hit another vehicle, but unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. Or even we've seen units now get ahead and kind of box them in. And then we saw a pursuit last week where they used a Bearcat to actually ram a big rig truck. So things are evolving and changing in the pursuits now.
And we can see that the driver came to a stop. It gave them enough time for officers to exit their vehicle. In fact, we saw that officer on the right-hand side emerge from the passenger side and hop along as they started to go, but the driver picking up a little more speed and not allowing them to continue what they would hope to be an arrest at this point. Now crawling along at just several miles per hour, now about to enter the northbound 110 freeway, and we will see what happens here. But just crawling through those lanes, and this pursuit has not come to an end just yet.
And other drivers really clearing the way for, you know, this pursuit to continue on, even though it is at a slower pace now. But again, these people inside this white Toyota Camry are believed to be armed and dangerous, so it is a good idea for these other drivers to get out of the way because we don't know what's inside that car.
Right. I think I misspoke. These are not the HOV lanes. This looks like the main exit. I think I saw the HOV, the La La Land HOV lanes off to the left. This, I think, is just the main exit and entrance onto the 110. Bruce, you know, you said if you had the call here, you would authorize a pit maneuver. How much of a concern is the potential weaponry inside that car? How much does that come into play when authorizing this decision? And you have innocent bystanders all around should a gun be brought out.
You know, unfortunately, you do have a reverence for human life, and we do have to watch the background. If we do come out with our guns drawn and there happens to be an officer-involved shooting, unfortunately. But to touch on something that I think Sophia may have said earlier, the motorists are doing what they're trained to do. Emergency lights and sirens, they're pulling to the right. So they're clearing a path for the suspect. Unfortunately, if traffic was a dead standstill, that'd be a different situation.
Right. And just precarious. It's not the kind of thing, Bruce, they wouldn't try and block this guy in, would they? If you're talking about, you know, we talked pit maneuver. Can you simply pull around him at speeds like this and block him?
You know, it's not taught, nor is it something advantageous because you do have assault with a deadly weapon suspects that were armed with weapons or were thought to be armed with weapons. So you never want to put you right in the middle of a deadly force confrontation like that.
Yeah. We see, I think, 9 or 10 pursuing vehicles right now. I think this started with LAPD's Newton Division. They had requested some help from Central Division. I haven't seen that lead car switch out at any point, but that's not to say it hasn't happened. We've kept our eyes mainly on the Camry and not the LAPD vehicles. But I don't know if this... Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Most of the city agencies don't do the swap out like CHP does. And CHP does it for officer fatigue because that officer is involved in the pursuit. The second vehicle is calling the pursuit, meaning basically giving all the information to the watch commander, speed, location, what they're wanted for, description of vehicle, traffic conditions.
Yeah.
There are certain factors. So the lead vehicle can concentrate on following the suspect, but it's advantageous to swap out so they don't get tunnel vision.
Right, and I'm sure it must be really tense in the driver's seat of these vehicles, as every facet of this job is, not knowing what they face. Did you notice, Sophie, the driver put their blinker on to get around a car? Yeah,
and I was going to mention, you know, it's interesting that this driver is not picking up speed. I mean, again, there are other cars on this freeway clearing the way essentially for this pursuit to continue, of course at a slower speed than we saw earlier, but it is interesting that, you know, they're not making really any risky moves here for as long as they've continued to leave at least now 9 patrol officers on this chase.
Yeah, if they wanted to, this driver could plow through those little
Right.
pylons and get into the HOV lanes and just go. That is not happening for whatever reason. I'd say most people involved in this are thankful that has not happened,
Right.
and this maintains as a slow speed pursuit in traffic on the 110 northbound. Again, late Sunday evening, approaching Sunday night here in early October, and a lot of traffic on the 110 freeway. A lot of police traffic right behind this car right now. But again, if this guy wanted to try to get away, that could be happening. It is not. And Bruce, I think given the alternative, we should all be pretty thankful for that at this point.
Yeah, we're thankful traffic is light and the suspects are not driving haphazardly. They're driving within the flow of traffic, even though pursuit is still inherently dangerous. I just wanted to add, I think, Sophia, I called you Sophia. Sorry, but I know it's Sophie. So
That's
I have a
okay,
friend named
Bruce.
Sophia.
All good. I think I called you Bill a couple weeks ago, Bruce. So
You know
it's
what?
all
I answered a lot of different things.
yeah.
Well, I'm wondering about fuel too. I mean, again, this is a driver who's being pretty cautious, going at slow speeds, and staying behind. I mean, just got into another lane, a packed lane here, where they could have, done some more riskier moves here. It looks as though they are just completely stopped. Officers still staying in their patrol vehicles at this moment, but maybe something else is about to happen here.
Yeah, this is actually a good positioning to use a spike strip. Get a vehicle ahead, clear some traffic, and lay that spike strip down. And what we're seeing now are people stopping on the side of the road to possibly transmit social media events of this pursuit.
It's the age we live in. We did see a couple cars back there. I think one of them might have been a media vehicle. I saw some flashing lights in the back window or some kind of emergency vehicle, but we did see another car out of the vehicle with phones out and taking some video.
Well, and not just the other vehicles, but the people inside this
Right.
car themselves.
For
I mean,
sure.
the passenger stuck their arm out and was recording. It looked like the vehicles behind them, maybe even Air 7. So, who knows what the intention is inside of this vehicle, this white Toyota Camry that's leading these officers on this now very slow pursuit.
Yeah, we talk about the balloon that was in the front seat. We saw the passenger with the balloon up to their mouth. We just either last week or the week before talked about a devastating accident in which 3 women or young women were riding in the back of the open cab of a truck, and witnesses said they were inhaling something, perhaps nitrous oxide, laughing gas, or something, while in the midst of speeding down the road, and it wound up crashing, and those 3 women, I think, all lost their lives in that crash. And how dangerous this could be if the driver is partaking in whatever they are using in this car. You see that yellow balloon through the windshield here from video from just a few minutes ago. What the state of these drivers are. You see the phone just pass right in front of that balloon. They are recording or taking videos or documenting their own pursuit from law enforcement. And I thought at that point they had popped the balloon, but this is where they rolled down their window while still on the 105. It looks like the balloon is in the passenger's mouth or up to their face as they are communicating with either other drivers or recording the helicopters or the pursuing officers or all of that as they are fleeing from police very slowly.
Yeah, and you can see, on the left-hand side, that is the live picture here of where they are in Southeast LA, still on the 110 northbound, leading at least, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe there's more behind them.
Yeah, some with their lights
8, 9,
off.
yeah, 9 patrol cars there, all following along this very, very slow pursuit.
And I think we are, I haven't been told, but I think we're being hampered by the approach to LAX at this point. I know once we were over LAX, our Air 7 was able to get some altitude and be above the incoming and departing planes at LAX. Now I think we're right in the approach. And so I think we're staying south of the 105 still. If anyone in the booth is able to tell me, I think that's why our shot is still so far away, and watching them drive northbound on the 110 freeway. I think we're going to try and somehow navigate around this at some point and get a better angle. But again, this vehicle now stopped. This is completely stopped traffic on the 110, now blocked in almost unintentionally by other drivers as they get out of the way. And now we continue on, and this car now switching to the left lane, and they could switch over to the HOV where there's a little more room, but that has not happened.
Right.
little confusing about what this guy is doing. I'm sure they are just as confused as well in their state.
Yeah, and officers just following along here, very slow. Not this driver not making any risky moves here, but heading in the direction that it came from. This started in downtown Los Angeles near Hope Street earlier today, right around about an hour ago now. We've been on the air for an hour following this pursuit, driving through LAX and continuing on.
Okay, we are approaching the end of our broadcast here over the air. Eyewitness Newsmakers is coming up next in just about a minute. In the meantime, we will stay on coverage of this pursuit of two people wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. This has gone on for 45 minutes or more at this point. We will continue to stream our coverage, abc7.com and our ABC7 Los Angeles app as we continue our coverage. But stay tuned. We are sticking around here on the air. You'll see Eyewitness Newsmakers. We will continue our coverage. Still to come. Okay, we still have a little bit, 30 more seconds here, 20 more seconds. We will continue on as Air 7 is navigating around, trying to get a better vantage point, hampered by LAX airspace, the approach. So we are shooting this on a very long lens as the pursuit by the LAPD continues of this dangerous driver wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. Our coverage continues streaming right now.
Thanks for joining us again. If you are just tuning in, we are following a pursuit. Two people in a white Toyota Camry wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. That is according to LAPD. But we have been on the air for about an hour now. We've been covering this pursuit rather for about an hour. So I'm sorry, for about a half an hour now. The pursuit started about an hour ago. Excuse me, right around 5:30, and it's a little hazy out there. Air 7, doing the best they can there with fighting that haze and distance. They're farther away, zooming in here. But this pursuit, again, started around 5:30. They're now near Figueroa Street in South Los Angeles.
So headed towards downtown Exposition Park, where we've seen this driver off of the freeway on side streets. I think they were on Vermont for a time through Exposition Park. And I think that was the stadium right there. Was that BMO? So right by Exposition Park, northbound. Yep, there is BMO approaching downtown. And traffic is moderate to light for Sunday evening here, as you would expect. Again, Air 7 is now catching up. We had to divert the long way around to get out of LAX approach airspace as those planes are heading into the airport. But that's why it's such a long view of this pursuit. But as Air 7 approaches at much faster speeds than these vehicles are traveling, we should be caught up with it here in a little bit through the haze, now passing USC through Exposition Park, and pretty soon we'll start seeing some of those taller downtown buildings.
And heading in the direction from where this pursuit started, starting near Hope Street in downtown LA, getting on the 110 freeway, going through LAX and bringing all of us back around here, down back into downtown LA. Again, these two people wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. So these people inside, two people believed to be inside of the vehicle. We saw the passenger not too long ago, actually, stick out their hand and take videos on their phone of whether it be the 9 patrol cars in the background following them, or Air 7, and it appears as though they were almost smiling in outside of that window there.
Yeah, some of that might be an altered state if they are indeed inhaling something from that balloon, a bizarre situation I can't remember seeing before. Our law enforcement expert, Bruce Thomas, is still on the line with us. Bruce, any thoughts now as they approach downtown, which can be problematic, especially for an airship overhead?
Yeah, we've seen the pursuits as they head to downtown to disable the airship because they can't get, into the building areas where the suspects go. We've seen the suspects go into garages or just go underneath underpasses and abandon the vehicle and then plan on foot and get away. We have seen that recently in the last couple. So it's not, I don't think they know to do that. I think it's just haphazard as it happens.
Yeah, it looks as if we're trying to relocate where this pursuit is, whether they're still on the freeway or whether they've gotten off. It's tough to see with the buildings blocking our view. Again, we've taken the long way around to get out of LAX airspace, and it's hard to see from this distance. where this pursuit is. You kind of look for those flashing lights as we're doing here. We take a wide shot and just look for where the flashing lights are. There are upwards of 9 or 10 LAPD vehicles in pursuit, most of them with their lights on. So once it emerges somewhere, we should be able to pick it up pretty quickly. But for the moment, at least our air coverage has lost where this pursuit is.
Yeah, Jory, it does look like they're still on the 110, only because I take that route to go to the hockey games every day.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're 110 approaching possibly 6th or 8th Street
There we
downtown.
go. Okay. Picked it back up. Maybe getting on the 10 freeway eastbound. We will see if that's an on-ramp. It's a pretty big interchange there. So getting back on the 10 eastbound. I believe this started, at least as far as we picked it up, westbound on the 10, Sophie, and then kicked around through Exposition Park before heading down to the 105 and LAX. And now just right back where they started, and we see this pretty often, circling around either areas they know or areas they have been.
Right, and it started with not a lot of traffic on the freeway in their way, and it has slowly, over the last 10 to 15 minutes or so, it's slowly gotten more congested in the areas that this driver has been traveling, though not making any risky moves, not cutting people off, not going at very high speeds in dense areas here. So it's been, interesting to watch as so many patrol cars follow this car. Bruce, we saw this car slow down, but we saw officers not get in front of that car, even though it was almost stopped at times. And I think maybe as a viewer, it can be frustrating to not see law enforcement get in front of this car. Why is that not a good idea for them in this moment?
Yeah, it's just not something that's taught. And you have assault and deadly weapon suspects who we believe are possibly armed. So you don't want to get yourself in the middle of crossfire if it turns into that. The other thing, too, which I'm kind of surprised, is that they haven't requested CHP or handed it over to CHP.
Yeah. Bruce, now exiting the freeway, this vehicle is now making a right turn. This is Maple and 18th. I think this might be around the area where we saw the fire as the 10 freeway kind of turns back towards the north and is just shy of that. So now on some side streets in South L.A., Maple and crossing Washington Boulevard. Let's see if they get onto Washington. Crossing over Washington on Maple. There's Maple there. Okay, so heading southbound on Maple. We're going to approach 21st coming up here. Yeah, so going to cross over 21st. Driving on the center line, not fully in oncoming traffic, but right on the middle of this roadway. And you can see cars in the opposite direction just diving out of the way as you see a vehicle coming with a third of the vehicle across the center line, now making a right onto 23rd. So exiting off of Maple on 23rd, and we see a track there. I believe there is a school right there on 23rd. This is Santee High School. So this is the track and the football field for Santee High as they continue along here on 23rd Street. Next cross, major cross, is going to be Main Street. Yep, so which dead ends at Main, and we will see there's a way to kind of wedge yourself around. 23rd and 24th are kind of catty corners. This is, I believe it's oddly still 23rd. Just a quick right and a left. The behavior of this car, Sophie, looks like this should be coming to an end every time they slow down like this. It's frustrating that they're just they're avoiding the inevitable at this point of a slow speed pursuit. Just end it right now. Keep yourself and everyone around you safe, but it's just not happening. And
it can get frustrating in these parts too, because it feels as though it's easy to get away. There's a lot working against officers in this area. Oh, it looks like they're slowing down here. Yeah,
the LAPD pursuing officer looks like they've been trying to do something. This guy is going to bail and try and get away. And now officer on foot trying to get this car door open. The passenger has now fled. Officers looks like breaking the window of the driver's side and getting this guy out. He hands up. And we see officers now in pursuit on foot of the passenger. You can see that officer's finger is not on the trigger of the gun, now holstered on the ground. And this guy will shortly, with a balloon still in his mouth, a purple balloon. still in this guy's mouth as he's being tackled, and we see that officer just rip it out of his mouth and kind of throw it away. Looks like there might be some bias. Yeah, we see people on foot. The officers trying to get these people, members of the public, away from this scene, which can turn volatile. It looks like the car has been cleared, and they wait to check the trunk, and we're curious what has happened to that passenger. Very crowded situation, whether something's happening here, some kind of gathering on the street, where that passenger went to. That really ended quickly. Sophie, it looked like they were blocked in. They weren't going anywhere. Those cars, I think, are parked on the roadway. And so that is the driver being led away in handcuffs.
And we saw other officers, we saw that passenger immediately run out of the car and other officers go after him. But it does look like this is a very congested area. There might be something that almost like an event going on in this area. So many people, so many cars. And we saw, again, a lot of people take out their phones and try to record what was happening here. And officers telling them to get away because, again, this started because LAPD officers believe that these people were armed and dangerous.
Yeah, and you wonder how much help, if any, that officers would have gotten from this crowd. You don't know what kind of gathering it is. I see some kind of vintage cars, whether that is part of this, but it looks like this is some kind of street festival, whether these cars are driving or whether they're parked on the road. Here you have a gathering in the middle of this intersection, and now there go the officers still running. So still, is that him? Nope.
Oh, no.
I mean, there are more officers running. We just don't know where the passenger is. It looks like a large gathering of officers have tracked that person to this point, whether they're blocking off traffic. So it looks like they believe they have this person locked into this area, and now it's a matter of figuring out who it was, or if we're just not seeing the person in custody somewhere. But the fact that they're lining up like this leads me to believe they believe they have this passenger hemmed in to this particular block. Whether that's the case, we await, but they are organizing some kind of plan and trying to find where this person and suss out where they may have gone to.
And it was probably very difficult for them, considering how many people were gathered in the street at the intersections there. So many cars, so many people, and we saw that person have they put their hood up and ran out.
Right, and with a lot of people in the roadway, it might serve as a hazard to hamper that passenger's getaway. Is there something under this tree? You know, I just don't know whether they're arresting this person and they're kind of shielding, or they're going to move in now, in formation, down the road as these officers are attempting to find this passenger, it looks like, who fled from a vehicle at the end of a pursuit, and sweeping the area, whether they know what this person looks like, or whether they're worried about the crowd maybe turning on them.
Bruce, what does it look like is happening right now to you?
You know, it's hard to say, but it looks like they're forming a formation to go in and look for the suspect, as this is some sort of, as you said, street festival or impromptu car show. How many are friendlies, how many are not friendly to the police is hard to say. So, you know, the bigger question is, do they really want the passenger, as the driver is your suspect? He is the one that's going to do the jail time. So they may just abandon it and say, you know what, we'll come back another day.
Okay, we're hearing from our booth that they do have the passenger in custody. So both people, here's the video on the right of that passenger getting out and fleeing. They couldn't pursue that passenger right away because they were focusing on this car. They didn't know what the driver was going to do. But in this video to the right, you will see some officers continue on and go after them. We are told both people are in custody, which then, I guess, begs the question, Bruce, why they're traveling in formation. Perhaps, again, they're worried about this crowd turning on them. We don't know what this gathering is, whether it's the kind of crowd that officers might need to worry about turning on them.
Yeah, Jory, I think you're 100% right in this case. They are afraid that the crowd may turn and do what they call a lynching, where they try to take the suspect away from the officers, being sympathetic to the suspect, not even knowing what the crime is.
Yeah.
So we have seen that, so they're worried about their own safety, apparently.
Certainly a loaded term, but as we look at this, it looks like the pursuit portion is over. There's a large crowd. These officers are now walking pretty calmly through this crowd, but it has gathered quite a crowd. We saw a lot of vehicles on the street when the officers were traveling the opposite direction. But this activity has brought a lot of people out into the roadway itself to see what has been going on. And we see a lot of people with phones out, a lot of motorcycles parked here, a lot of traffic on this roadway. Is this still, I think this is a block over from Main, maybe Broadway. But if that's the case, both suspects are now in custody in the pursuit of two people wanted for assault with a deadly weapon and now likely to be charged with several other charges after leading these officers on a pretty long, at least hour-long pursuit that stretched all the way to LAX and back down to South Los Angeles, almost to downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, and the officers cleared the car that they were pursuing pretty quickly. So even though they were in pursuit of this person because of a deadly weapon inside of that car, they did deem it to be safe as soon as they got that driver and the passenger ran.
And that's it backing up right now. I have not seen that before. Officers getting in and moving a vehicle that quickly. Bruce, is this typical? Officers kind of moving a vehicle involved in a pursuit like this?
No, I think they're definitely worried about agitators in the crowd or their own safety, and they're probably calling in some additional resources for that. But for them to move a car like that is just not something that you do. Typically, you'll clear it, you'll look for investigative things in the vehicle, the gun, knives, whatever they're looking for, and then just call a tow truck and let them tow it.
Right. This is evidence at this point in a crime that's been committed. It's unusual to see officers inside of it moving it like this, because I think there's a sanctity to a crime scene. Isn't there some kind of evidence boundary that these officers want to keep?
Yeah, very much so, Jory. So I believe that they feel it's not safe enough for them to continue and be there. So they're going to move the vehicle maybe to a couple of blocks away and then do their further investigation there out of the purview of this crowd that's gathered.
Yeah. Do you think their body cameras are rolling at this point just to document what is happening inside of that car?
Oh, I'm sure the body cams or even the docu cams are rolling because it is something that the officers are required to activate, and they do record their shift duties during their tour of duty. So it's all evidence at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like a positive ending here. No one, it appears, was injured. We could have had a really dangerous situation. We saw speeds of 90 miles per hour or above on local freeways. This traveled off-road off-freeway onto some side streets. At one point, driving nearly on the opposite side of the road. That could have turned very dangerous. But as far as we can tell, both suspects are now in custody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was. This was a long pursuit. It went on for about an hour, but again, thankfully, both people are now in custody. And thank you for joining us during this breaking news.
Yeah, thanks to Bruce Thomas as well. Bruce, thanks so much. You are quite a help in lending information to us and our viewers in what is happening in this. Again, if anything else develops from this, we will have it tonight at 11 o'clock on Eyewitness News. For now, thanks for joining us, and we return you to our regularly scheduled broadcasting.